Streaming. Hello everybody, welcome to the History Buffs live stream Q&A special. As always, my name is Nick Hodges and I'm joined today by Claudia.
Hello. Hi
And
guys, how are you?
yeah, and we have a special guest on, Julian from the channel Invicta, who
Hey.
who recently helped me with my Rome Season 2 review. So how's it going, mate?
Yeah, no, it's going super good. And I'm very impressed actually how quickly we've been able to kick this off. I think the sparks are flying in terms of the the passion for history. Because it
Yeah.
was what, like just 2, 3 weeks ago that I guess we just first touched base, and then since then we've like kept up pretty constant communication. And I was just happy to be pulled on board for the Rome 2 or Rome season 2 episode. That was a great one.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I mean, like, yeah, you reached out to me after the first video went up, and you specialize in Roman history, like that. This is your forte, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead and kind of put a little asterisk on that. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have any official background in history. I actually graduated as a mechanical engineer, so history is more of a side passion and a hobby. But I would say, yeah, my area of most interest and expertise would be Roman history.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I've been a huge fan of your channel. Actually, been watching it for a while, binged a bunch of stuff. And when I saw you did season one, I was like, oh, this is great. I hope he does season two.
yeah.
And you were just, I think, starting to plow through it. So I popped in at just the right time.
And what's funny was actually when I was starting to research about Rome season 2, I was specifically looking into the Battle of Actium, and I was trying to find videos on YouTube regarding how the Romans actually fought naval engagements, and I came across one of your videos specifically talking about how Agrippa used the harpacks and how that sort of
Yeah.
revolutionized naval warfare at the time. So it's just a really good coincidence that you just reached out to me like a few days after I watched it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of spooky sometimes how that happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're also a YouTube channel that concerns itself with history. I mean, like that's your biggest passion, right?
Yeah, so I guess I could talk a bit about my channel. So
I would
my
like that. Yes,
channel's
please. Yeah.
my channel's been around for a little while. It's been a meandering path. So I first used to do well, the first thing that got me into YouTube actually was Halo.
Mm-hmm.
So I started on a separate channel
Yeah,
called the
that's
Halo
kinda
Forge
spooky sometimes how
Epidemic,
that
which is
happens.
where we would
Yeah,
do
yeah.
these Forge maps, which is essentially where it within Halo, Bungie released this in-game tool that allowed you to create maps and create mini games and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I joined a channel where we would put tutorials on how to build maps, we would share community creations. And so that was my foot in the door for YouTube. And I really like the community building stuff, sharing things, putting together educational videos. But then Halo started to kind of take a dive, slow out, and I wanted to spread my wings a little bit. So I created a side channel, which was just called THFE Production. So it's supposed to be like extra gaming on top of the main channel.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to kind of wander about and try and do my own thing. And eventually it grew and grew and grew. I'm bigger than the original channel, and that one's since died off. But then I figured, okay, now I'm going to focus mostly on history, because I think if you're doing YouTube, you have to follow a personal passion. I found myself pigeonholed with that last game where the title of the channel, sorry, I was pigeonholed in terms of the channel. The title of the channel was the Halo Forge Epidemic, and there's not much wiggle room. So I think the key to YouTube is not just focusing around a single topic, but mostly like a theme or your passion, because that way you're infinitely flexible. So then I grew that channel for a while, and then did a rebrand recently, changing from THFE Productions to Invicta to focus more on history in general.
Yeah.
And that's so far been really good.
Yeah, isn't it sometimes difficult because history, when it comes to making these videos, it requires a lot more work than an average piece. Like, let's say if you're reviewing movies or going over books or whatever, that those are quite often opinion-based pieces that they don't require huge amounts of research. Has that ever like crossed your mind, or like as a difficulty in making these videos?
Yeah, so no, kind of like what you're doing with opinion mixes research. I've always been thinking of maybe just introducing a little bit more opinion into my videos, because I think that's the way YouTube is almost
Yeah.
strong arming us towards going.
Yeah, yeah.
Just churning out content. So yeah, I do want to do that. Maybe I don't know, in the future maybe we could do some collaborations, just short fire videos on specific scenes from movies. But yeah, I'd like to do some more opinion pieces on history or stuff like that. But kind of the way I've kind of dealt with YouTube, their changes is my channel is kind of a hybrid. So
Yeah.
my bread and butter is going to be focusing on the Total War games. And Total War used to be history, but now they've kind of branched off into fantasy. But anyways, my day-to-day videos are usually just me playing the game.
Yeah.
So those are easy to put out, just get constant views. And then I kind of have these big blockbuster episodes, the documentary pieces that I'm always working on behind the scenes for release. But for me, that's been a nice way to kind of ride out the storm in YouTube. Have like,
so,
you know,
yeah.
just, yeah, a lot of little videos that are easy to produce, put out. They're fun to do. And just have that baseline growth. And then the documentaries are for my big spike growth over time and to help differentiate myself.
Are the documentaries the ones that have that really cool animation that you use? Because I was really impressed with that watching them.
Yeah, so I've been doing a bunch of different documentaries. The latest kind of documentary series that I came out with is called Moments in History. And that came out with the rebrand. And kind of the whole idea behind that is to simplify it. So the videos are shorter than what I used to do. The animations are easier. It's all pretty much still images. That's like artwork that people put together. And then I just use like brush strokes or ink blot transitions between them. And it's really powerful. Like it's easy to follow along. Whereas my other documentaries were a lot of flowing graphics, and it can be sometimes too much to handle. But these are just shortened to the point. So they've been successful. I mean, the first, they average like 300K views an episode, whereas I'm looking at my older documentaries that took 10 times the work, and they will barely get to that number.
But that's all old stuff, though, mate. I mean, like, true. I cringe watching like my early videos just because, like, you always. I mean, I think this is the case with every YouTuber. You always want to better yourself and make, strive towards creating better content for your audience. So. But what you've done recently has always really impressed me.
Yeah, thanks. And I've been really happy about the Moment series, not only in how it's performing, but it's a really cool opportunity. So the way I have like Moments structured is kind of overall the whole series is called Moments in History, and the idea is you focus on little individual moments, and I have different categories. So epic moments, tragic moments, deadly moments, and what it allows you to do is focus in on just specific ways of looking at history. So a cool thing, for instance, like tragic moments, I was able to look at the siege of Alesia and Caesar's campaigns in Gaul from a tragic perspective, which forced me to kind of look at traditional storylines. So anytime you hear about Caesar and Gaul, you always hear it from the Roman and Caesar's perspective. Yeah. But by doing tragic moments, it forces me to flip it on its head and look at it from the other perspective. So this is really cool because a lot of the documentaries that big History Channel, BBC, anytime they do a documentary, they're so big and lumbering and cumbersome that they often retread the same path. But with the Moment series, because they're so small and focused, I can go between the cracks. Like a topic that's too specific to be a full documentary, I can go ahead and do it. So there's a lot of very interesting history that's fallen through the cracks, and that's exactly what I'm going in and picking up. And it's awesome. I think people really appreciate it.
Awesome, mate. Cool. Okay, so I just want to ask like a different question. What is your opinion on the community of historical YouTube channels going on as of now?
Oh, well, I think everyone's been super supportive, and there's kind of like a relief from the community. Like you can see everyone flocking to the history channels because there used to be a public service for it, for like History Channel. There used to be a lot of other documentaries, like mainstream documentaries, and then poof, they disappeared. I guess it was a more gradual decline, kind of like the fall of the Roman Empire. But anyways, the mainstream channels went away, and then us, I guess the new barbarians came in, and we have an opportunity to do our own thing, which has been cool because we can rethink how you do it. And so you have your own take where you tack it onto movies and you analyze kind of pop history through like pop culture, kind of in a sense. Other people do it different ways, but we're all coming to the stage and offering different flavors and interpretations of history, which is freaking great. And I think more and more channels are popping up and they're doing really well. Like for educational content, I'm so surprised.
Yeah, and I am as well. I mean, like when I started my YouTube channel, a lot of people were saying to me that, I know this is kind of a niche subject. I mean, you think it's really going to go anywhere. But there is like I think people are just craving for like good old fashioned like historical content, and there's so many of them popping up for the last couple of years that I've been really pleased about. Although I think you know more historical YouTube channels than I do. Like, like Claudia and I sort of like keep to ourselves, but we're trying to like connect with it with everyone else, and slowly build a following.
Well, you're right. It is pretty new. Like the ones people think of recently. Well, obviously Crash Course, which is a bit more established and they've been around for a while, and they do
ages.
Yeah.
So they've been there for a while, but they're maybe a bit more like mainstream in terms of like YouTube. They're super professional, like they know what they're doing. They have crew, staff, whereas we're all like 1 or 2 person operations. So we've kind of cropped up recently. So I know you've been doing it for, how is it, like
2 years? 2 years.
Yeah, so just within 2 years, Historia Civilis has been around for a little while, but he's recently exploded. He does amazing stuff.
He's a fantastic channel.
So he's popped up. Or go ahead.
I was just saying, like, his stuff was really helpful, like, when I was going into Rome Season 1, because, like, he definitely went into depth about the Gallic Wars, far better than any documentary I've ever seen on, a typical BBC channel or History Channel or whatever.
And the funny thing is, he does it all with, like, MS Paint style graphics.
Yeah, exactly.
Which to me makes me a little jealous, but hey, I mean, the history behind it is flawless. The presentation makes me jealous, though.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah. And you also did a collaboration with Epic History TV. Is that the name of the channel?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of other people. So I'll just go ahead and name another one as well. Bats Battles. If you guys haven't seen him yet, he's fantastic. Popped up in like just a year, and he showed up with a plan. Like literally, his first video is not like your typical verse video. It is polished. It's something coming from a professional. It's really, really good stuff. And since then, he's just been knocking them out of the park. And he focuses on kind of campaigns and battles themselves. Really, really good stuff with these amazing top-down views of battles, animating all the individual troops. It's phenomenal. So yeah, recently him, Historia Civilis have blown up. Epic History TV has been around for a little bit.
That guy deserves to be on television. I'm just saying.
Well, I was gonna say, since I've spoken to him, actually, it turns out he is part of the History Channel Fallout. He used to work for History Channel. So even within that industry, people have abandoned that industry, knowing that, hey, this is going to shit. I want to like bring it back to where it's supposed to be. So he's doing like 50% of his time working for, I think, freelance as like a producer for documentaries. I think he like helps with BBC and other big channels. So that's half his time, and he says he earns enough money to the second half of the year do solely YouTube, which is pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do have some
we
semi-professionals
have something in common with him.
Well, that's right. Yeah, because you guys came from History Channel, right?
Well, we briefly worked on doing Vikings and stuff like that, but they weren't so interested in us as a YouTube channel, just more like us working on their sort of podcast. So
on their
wasn't
stuff,
so it wasn't really like a proper collaboration. But we definitely know the ins and outs of it. But okay, cool. Okay, so
well, I guess maybe we could touch on a little bit more on that front.
Please do, yeah.
So I was gonna say, kind of what we've been talking about is history channels on YouTube. It seems like we've witnessed kind of the beginning of the market develop in terms of History Channel. Like everyone's flooding in. There's some demand. A lot of small businesses, you could say, or small channels are cropping up to meet that demand.
Yeah.
And so now what we're getting is starting to get to the point of market consolidation where these channels are settling into their style and format. So for instance, myself, I've been kind of roving and meandering, and then boom, finally did a rebrand, and I've found kind of the formula. Same thing with you, I guess. You've been doing most of the same thing. But I think at this point, we're all finally figuring out who we are and what we want to do. And so now I think we're getting to the market consolidation point. And this is where I think we're going to start to see more and more cross collaboration. Because a little bit of the problem when it's like it's a developing market and there's kind of it feels like a free for all, and you don't necessarily want to like reach out or partner up to other people because who knows if they'll be here the next day, or you see them more as a competitor. Well, whereas now when we're more established, it makes more sense.
Yeah, well, I wonder if like part of it is that many of us are just very academic, so the idea of like sort of socializing the way vloggers do,
Sure.
So we're kind of so focused on the review that we are currently making. But I think this the collaboration stuff is good because with what's been going on with YouTube lately, like collaboration is sort of needed for us to adapt to this ever-changing algorithm that, I'll be honest with you, we still haven't figured out, like,
Yeah.
what is going on. I mean, like,
Yeah.
have you had to like adapt the way you work on your channel?
Somewhat. So YouTube's been changing for a little while. The first big change was kind of the way you get paid. So switching from just views to watch time, the way things get on the trending page. That was one big change. And then the second big change is recently with like the adpocalypse and what gets flagged, demonetized, or suggested. So for the first big change, my tactic to go about that was to do my shorter form moments in history episodes that are still pretty lengthy. I mean, they're like 10 minutes a piece, but they're much easier to produce and churn out. So that was kind of my way to adapt to that. And then for the adpocalypse, I haven't really quite found a way to adapt to it. It seems like just random videos are getting flagged.
Yeah.
Although some of them in particular, like I did one on the Second World War, like what were the drugs that the Nazis were taking? And my title is literally Nazis on Drugs.
Yeah. Oh.
So that one got auto flagged, and there's not much I can do.
Yeah. Oh, the difficulty is that like it's the research that takes the longest time in making these videos. So we can't do like sort of daily videos. Consistency, unfortunately, is not the key when trying to put out quality content. But cool.
Yeah.
Should we start answering some questions from the audience?
Yes, I actually have a couple questions.
Oh,
pulled up right
great. Let's see if they're relevant to both Julian and I.
First, special thanks to Isaac Paul for donating $5.
Oh,
he didn't
thanks, mate.
write a comment, but he just donated, which was really nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also special thanks to Sir Lancelot McButt for
Awesome name. Nice.
For donating as well. And he has a question. Do you know anything about Swedish history, like the Swedish Empire, Swedish involvement in the 30 Years' War, Napoleonic War, or immigration to America?
That's a really good question, though. Unfortunately, my knowledge really kind of stems with Viking history, and it's simply because that's what we were, researching the hell out of for the Viking podcast, and also for the reviews that we've been working on. So, unfortunately, not. What about you, Julian?
Well, I was going to say, I don't know too much necessarily, but I did do a little piece of history on it. So, for instance, like the Great Northern War, where there was the Swedish Empire and they're expanding. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, part of my videos are on Total War. And one of the Total War titles is called Napoleon Total War. And in that game, you can play as the Swedes. So I do remember a little while back, I had done a multiplayer battle playing as the Swedish faction, did a little bit of research. And in that video, I talked a bit about their military tactics. And it's super interesting, so I can talk a bit about that. So I don't know too much about the context of like the Great Northern War, but their tactics specifically were like hyper aggressive. So in traditional line battles, you would kind of form up in your big ranks. It would be battles of maneuver and position. You form up, you got to maybe 3-4 ranks deep, and then you fire one volley, kneel, second volley fires, and then you reload and kind of keep going. And there's kind of like a rhythm to it where there's gaps and intervals where people are reloading, and then it's just a long drawn-out fight. But what the Swedes did is they kind of changed the pace of battle. And so what they ended up doing was they revamped their tactics to fire much, much more quickly. And so they would do something, I can't remember the exact tactics or the name of it, but they would basically like almost like run into battle, have the first rank fire, have the second rank like sprint past them, bare their arms, fire, and then the third rank run past them, fire, and then charge straight up with the bayonet. Super hyper aggressive. Same thing with the cavalry. They would carry along, I can't remember if it was pistols or carabines, but also like charged in, get a volley off, switch to saber and lance and charge in. So they changed the pace of battle to the point where they just were all about like kind of Napoleonic era blitzkriegs, which is so cool.
Well, they kind of needed to be, right? Because they were invading Russia, which is a feat in itself.
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't necessarily have that much manpower overall, but they were able to just deal these knockout blows to much heavier opponents by focusing on changing the pace of battle and being able to shatter the core of the enemy with those quick charges, something that the enemy wasn't quite able to deal with. So that's really interesting. And I always like tactics like that kind of shake up the the status quo or commanders who are able to do something like that, like Alexander or Julius Caesar.
Yeah, it's better than the British way of like inviting the French to fire first because we're so polite about it, you know. Swedes don't give a shit. Like, fucking go for it, mate. So, okay, cool. That was a cool question. We got another one, Claudia?
Yes, actually, I have quite a few.
Nice.
Let's see. Ermina, I will not pronounce that last name because I don't know how to say that.
All right.
Sorry. There any chance that you'll do a video about Cleopatra? No.
Well, didn't I already just do that? Come on, you know.
Well, you did Rome, but like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they want a film just about her.
Oh, so it could be anything.
The one from your intro.
They specifically want the Elizabeth Taylor movie.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't, never say never, of course. It's just that I did Cleopatra already, and to be honest, when I do these kind of videos, I need to keep. I like to bounce around with different time periods in order to keep things interesting. I mean, like Julian, you must do the same thing, right? Like you kind of get, you must get sick after a while of just doing like Roman stuff. You want to go to World War II or yeah.
Okay.
Well, I can answer that question maybe a little bit more. So maybe that was directed more at you, Nick. But in terms of talking about Cleopatra, I am actually working on a video about Cleopatra. So one of my strategies as well for like YouTube to be able to kind of keep the views up and stay relevant is I'm going to focus my history around upcoming TV shows, games, and movies. So for instance, you guys probably know that the Assassin's Creed Origins game is coming out, and that's going to focus on Ptolemaic Egypt. So I was like, okay, it's coming out next month. Let me put together an episode on kind of that time period. So that's what I'm working on right now. It's going to be called Misunderstood Moments in History, Cleopatra's Egypt. And that one's going to be really cool because it's going to be focused on that Ptolemaic Egypt and popular misconceptions about it. Because when people think about Egypt, it's really weird. Like Egyptian history is over like 3,000 year old, and people always think, oh, it was always the same. You know, people in tunics in the desert, pharaohs whipping slaves like the entire time. But it's really interesting. Think about Cleopatra. She was not Egyptian. I mean, she came from the Ptolemaic dynasty, which was Macedonian. Alexander the Great came in, took over Egypt, formed his empire, and then after he died, the empire fell apart. One of his generals, Ptolemy, just seized power, or he was kind of a local ruler in Egypt, but he seized power, founded the Ptolemaic dynasty, and created a kingdom there. So Cleopatra was, I think, the 5th or 6th generation after him, something like that. But she was Macedonian, not Egyptian. But people always think her as Egyptian.
But she did speak ancient Egyptian, though. You got to give her credit for that.
Yeah, no. And that's one of the cool things about her. So and that's what I want to talk about in my video, is talk about the Ptolemaic dynasty and talk about how did they rule Egypt. So I'm going to look at the economy, politics, and kind of the social landscape, as well as military. So talk about kind of how did the dynasty do that in general, and then how did Cleopatra change that specifically. So the thing you're alluding to is basically when the Ptolemies came to Egypt and they were ruling, they were kind of they came in as a Macedonian and Greek ruling class on top, but everything below them, kind of the priests and down, were all still Egyptian. And so they did adopt some Egyptian traditions, but within the royal class, they still spoke Greek, and they didn't really learn Egyptian. And Cleopatra was, I believe, the first in that like ruling class to actually, try and get closer to the people,
and
learning
the last
Egyptian, learning learning all types of languages.
Yeah.
She's also overly sexualized in a bunch of different ways, despite being known more for her like keen intellect and all that. So.
Well, I think a lot of people, recent historians, are saying that she wasn't that attractive. Like she had like a big nose and all of that stuff. But like I'm guessing people found her attractive mainly because of her confidence and charisma.
Yeah.
The way she sort of carried herself. What do you think about like Assassin's Creed Origins? So just to go back a bit, how far do you think they're actually going to go? Are we just going to see the arrival of Julius Caesar and the sacking of Alexandria and the burning of the library, or is it going to go all the way to Cleopatra's death? I mean, what do you think would make sense in that game?
Well, to be honest, I haven't followed the game too long, but I think for that setting, I think what they're going to do is use as the plot points probably the arrival of Julius Caesar, Because they probably want to introduce like the heavy Roman infantry as a new enemy type to fight against, the intrigue of him with Cleopatra, what's going on. I don't know if they can really jump all the way till Mark Antony, because that's so long afterwards, whereas the game is supposed to be taking place in a compressed timeline.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely know that Julius Caesar is going to be arriving because they kind of show that in the trailer, and they maybe destroyed the library. I'm not sure if we saw that in the trailer as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think that is a much more interesting time period. I mean, he literally gets like locked up in the palace with Cleopatra and gets put under siege. Like, there's so much more going on. Whereas Antony, he's kind of like co-ruler. There's not as much of that kind of clash of cultures at that point.
Okay. Cool. Should we move on to another question, Claudia?
Oh, yeah. I have a question from Andrea M. Greetings from Italy. Also, thank you for your donation. Will you cover the Borgia? How do you say? Borgia, or something related?
I thought this is your forte, Claudia. You like the Renaissance and those families, like the Medicis and stuff.
Yeah, but it usually ended there.
Oh, right.
For me, yeah.
Am I ever going to cover that? I need to watch the television series. I think it had Jeremy Irons as the main character, but I've never seen it myself, and unfortunately I'm not.
I haven't seen it either yet.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the Renaissance period. I mean, Julian, what about you? Do you know about the Borgias?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
It's again one of those things that I might do in terms of strategy. Like if Netflix has a new series out, I probably want to try and do a video on them. But at the time of recording this or going live, I don't know too much about them.
Yeah, I'm sorry, mate. But she can tell you more.
Our next question is from Matthew Arnson. He's asking, hey, Nick, could you give us a hint of your next few videos?
Oh, thank you very much, Matthew. I know, Claudia, can I? No. Or can I just
want it to be a surprise.
I'll give one
because it's actually a really good topic.
Okay, I'll give one without saying what I'll give one without saying what the film is. I won't say what the film is. I swear to God. Okay.
They're gonna look it up.
Oh, come what? I'm not gonna say what the film is. Okay, so it's the next. I'm doing one small video, but I'm not gonna say what it is. But the next video is going to be I'm hoping to release it in October. And October is, of course, Halloween. And I'm trying to see if I can do a historical horror film for a change. I mean, that's what I'm aiming for, as long as life gets in the way. But I think it should be fine. I mean, like you did a really good job of researching that, Claudia. So
yeah.
I
mean, I'm still finding out new stuff. Like I already have like over 50 pages.
Yeah.
And I still keep finding more stuff.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what I'll be going for. I mean, as for you, Julian, like you've already kind of given teasers out for what your next few projects are going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, I guess I could say a little bit more. So like I said, I have a little business strategy that I have going on for my channel. Every quarter I'll do like a state of the channel address where I'll lay out my, like, where have we been and where are we going next? Yeah. And then every quarter I kind of come up with new goals. So my goal for this past quarter has been, hey, for the Moment series, I want to kind of find sponsors for each episode. So that's been kind of going along. So like I'm reaching out to the Assassin's Creed team to put together the episode on Cleopatra. I'm also going to be working on another episode sponsored by Great Courses Plus for their series on kind of the Greek civilization. And the episode's going to be really cool. It's going to be called Misunderstood Moments in History, the Spartan Myth. And that one's going to be really awesome because a lot of people know about Sparta through the lens of 300. They think of them as these super soldiers who were always fighting, trained like literally from birth to fight and be these amazing warriors. But what I'm going to do is look at, was that actually true? How strong of warriors were they? Where did that tradition come from? And actually, as I do more and more research, it turns out that, oh my God, it's not at all what people think. Yes, to some degree, they were these great warriors, but a lot of the time, that they had off was actually not spent being warriors, but it was spent being good citizens, learning to sing and dance, doing gymnastics, doing stuff like that, being subservient to the state. And all of this was founded upon not, they're in 300 being like, oh, these super soldiers fighting for liberty. No, actually, their society was built upon slavery, like the slavery of the Helots. These people that they early on captured, subjugated, and made them work the fields for them. So crazy stuff. Like, one, they're not fighting for freedom. They're like tyrannical authoritarians, and two, they're not these super soldiers. They're just kind of almost trained robots to be soldiers for the state. So it's really interesting diving into that.
Oh, thanks, mate. Sorry, I just gotta give a thanks out to a great donation by Richard Dean, who donated $50. Thank you so much, mate. It says, greetings from a proud Great Plains Native American. I appreciate the coverage of the Dakota Keystone Pipeline in Dances with Wolves. I wish I was there. So, well, fucking, he was there, Claudia. I was there,
wow.
so thank you. I was wondering if you'll do more Japanese history videos. Well, first, mate, thank you very much. That's amazing that you were there. Yeah, really appreciate everything that you guys are sort of fighting for. So, yeah. Thank you so much for your donation. We could do any more Japanese videos. I would like to, because Japanese history is so, the culture is so alien to me. Simply because I grew up with European history, of course, so that's what I'm most familiar with. But it's always absolutely fascinated me. I guess I could do one of the most I forget the name of there's one that film Ran.
Letters from Iwo Jima.
Oh, I thought about Second World War. Oh, so I was thinking more like sort of feudal Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, actually, no, Letters from Iwo Jima, I think it's a cracking film. It came out with Flags of Our Fathers, and I think Letters of Iwo Jima was better, in my opinion. I'm sorry, but I thought it was a better film than Flags of Our Father. So one day I would absolutely like to cover that. But I think it's also should be fair to review something from feudal Japan, because Last Samurai seemed to be doing pretty well. What do you think, Claudia?
It was a pretty interesting film to
and
watch, but I'm trying to, because when I think of an Eastern war film, it's always a Korean one. I'm not too familiar with Japan that well, but that's definitely something that we can research.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But absolutely we'll cover some more films about the Japanese period. What about you, Julian? Are you familiar with Japanese history? Do you think you'll ever cover anything on your channel?
Well, I'm starting to get into it. I did do one called Cataclysmic Moments in History, the Mongol Invasions of Japan. So that was kind of my way to get into that history period. Really cool. Multiple Mongolian invasions of Japan that were twice thrown back by these giant, perfectly timed typhoons that wrecked their fleet.
Isn't that where kamikaze comes from, the word?
Yeah. So that's kind of the sub-theme of that episode, was the kamikazes apparently like the divine winds. Mm-hmm. And so those threw back the foreign invaders kind of in the feudal period. And legend eventually grew to where the emperor was said to be the one who called down the divine winds. And then later that whole theme of, death from the skies beating back invaders was called upon once more in World War II, where instead of, big winds, it ended up being, the kamikaze pilots who struck from the sky. And instead of Mongolian boats, it was U.S. destroyers and aircraft carriers. So that was kind of an interesting callback to the ancient times.
Was it Kublai Khan who ordered the invasion of Japan?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. How many times did he fail? Because I know he did it more than once, right?
Yeah, so they did it twice. Both got wrecked, and they were planning a third one, but they kind of ran out of money and steam at that point, and then, they never attempted a third invasion.
Yeah. I was watching a documentary by Kublai Khan. I was wondering if they were going to mention it in that show Marco Polo, but of course,
I had seen that show. Was a little.
Oh, dude! I mean, like, if I ever review it, I'm going to be taking the piss out of it because. I probably spoken about it enough, but here's a question: Did the Crusaders ever make it to China to fight the Mongols?
No.
Of course. Well, that's a big climactic battle in season 2.
Oh, so, is it? Oh, I never watched season 2.
So that was the moment I'm like screaming "fuck you" towards the television. So yeah. All right, Claudia. Sorry, what's the next question we could do?
We actually have a couple of super chat donations.
Oh, great! Thank you.
I'm just going to read out from Trekker Director 7. He asks, "Did you have a point in life that turned you around productivity-wise? If so, what changed and what contributed to the change? Keep up the good work, Nick. Greetings from Brazil."
Oh, thanks, mate. I'm just trying to figure out what he means. Like, yeah, I'm sorry.
I think
Yeah, what was he trying to say?
productivity-wise,
Like,
did you have a point in life that turned you around productivity-wise, so that made you work more
I think this channel.
or make more videos? This channel? Really?
Yeah, I mean, like beforehand, I was trying to like get into the industry, the film industry, as like a runner or working in marketing, whatever. And it was only like doing something like this that, I could actually. That it was the only really rewarding thing that I was doing, because what I loved about YouTube at the time, anyway, it's a little bit different now, is that there was no middleman. Like you if your videos don't do well on YouTube, then you need to work on your content, so to speak. But yeah, so this is like the most rewarding part of my life, doing this whole YouTube channel. I don't know, Julie. What about you? What's been the most rewarding part of your career?
Well, I have a main career outside of YouTube, but I guess if you were to look exclusively at YouTube, the highlight for me, I guess, would be my switching. Oh no, I would say the highlight was actually when I got contacted by a museum actually in Israel who wanted to put up one of the documentary series that you saw on Roman naval tactics, and they contacted me to try and put that up in one of their museums for an upcoming exhibit. So that was pretty cool. So like you do your stuff on YouTube, and then finally it bleeds over into what you perceive to be like the real world, as opposed to floating around on the internet and having it go up in a museum gallery was really cool, and it was kind of a bit of validation that felt like to me kind of like a breaking point. And then since then I've had a couple other museum exhibitions that have put it up, and it seems to actually most of the time be related to my ones on the Roman naval warfare, which is, I guess, because no one ever covers it. There's no good resources on it, so I'm like the only one that pops up if you do a search for it.
That's a much better answer than mine. I mean, like, yeah, yeah. I think when people contact you outside of YouTube, I think that's definitely a really good form of validation, especially been trying to. Sorry, yeah.
I was gonna say, have you been recognized outside of?
Well, yeah.
With the History Channel.
History called me up and said like, "Hey, we saw your Vikings video. Do you want to come to Ireland and interview the cast and crew?" And I reacted like a giddy schoolgirl, although not over the phone, just when family and stuff like that. But
sure.
That was definitely one of the coolest parts ever, I would say, personally. So I know. What about you, Claudia? Is it the same thing?
When my productivity went up?
Yeah.
I think it was after I left LA, because I was in the industry over there for like post-production wise for like commercials and stuff, and I just, after leaving and working with you on YouTube, it made me want to just work more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I felt like there was more on the line than just a stupid editing job at some commercial house.
But now you're doing a really awesome job on YouTube, actually. Having
it's
your
more
stuff seen
fun.
by people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. I love this job.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's the next question we can do?
I have a question from Mark with the Mouth 101.
Yeah.
And he asks, or they ask, have you thought about doing a video on Siege of Jadotville? It has recently come up in the news over the reopening of the death of the UN head.
Yeah, I think that there was a Netflix movie made about it recently, about the Irish peacekeepers, Irish UN peacekeepers who fought. Sorry, I forget which country in Africa, and how that was a major clusterfuck. If I ever cover it, it'll probably be from that Netflix movie, and I think it'd be kind of cool to do because, I mean, often when I cover films, it's either like the Americans' point of view, Brits' point of view, Romans' point of view. It'd be really interesting to do a historical timepiece about the Irish, whether it be about the Siege of Jadotville or about Michael Collins and so on. So, yeah. What about you, Invicta? Anything about the Irish interest you?
Um, yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot to dive into. Off the top of my head, I don't know too much that I want to cover, but that's again why I kind of created the Moments in History series,
Mm-hmm.
because they're so small that I can jump into any little little topic on any time period kind of on a whim.
Yeah.
Whereas, if I were doing big documentaries, it would take a long time to get the gears turning. I guess that's kind of a similar problem to you. It's kind of hard to commit to that plan around it, and it's a bigger opportunity cost per video for you than for me.
Definitely keep like things sort of interesting with covering different people in different time periods and stuff. So people are telling me right now it was in the Congo, so I apologize for not remembering it was in the Congo. Actually, that should be the default answer, but I didn't want to presume which African state. Okay, cool. What's the next one?
Let's see. Excelsius asks, would you ever collab with Extra History?
Extra credits history or extra history?
I think
TV?
Extra Credits History.
Yes, I would. I think for a while one of the guys from Extra Credits History was subscribed to YouTube, to my YouTube channel. Like you go to
It was a producer, right?
It was the guy with the brown hair. Like he had this avatar picture and he had like brown hair. But I can't for my life remember his name, unfortunately, because YouTube unsubscribed from him from my channel. Either that, or I made such a terrible video that he was offended and he unsubscribed himself. So I don't know. I don't know, Julia, are you familiar with Extra Credits History?
Yeah, no, I've been watching them. I'm not a huge fan of the the voiceover.
Yeah.
But it's good. Like an introduction to a topic, definitely watch it. That's what I've done as like if I'm gonna think about doing a topic, I'll definitely watch some of their stuff because it gives you a good overview. My main gripe with these types of channels is that when they teach history with cartoonized characters, it strips away all of the like human empathy and it kind of alienates it, which is kind of the big thing that I think history is already missing out on is the ability to
watch it,
empathize.
Mate. Watch it. I got animation in my show. Right. Just joking.
Well, no, yours integrates videos and like actual characters on the screen.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, you see a lot of these history channels that have stick figures and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh, that's like my whole shtick is I'm trying to do a focus on like the human element of history, and that's what gives it color. So like the Moment series is actually supposed to be on like different ways people like different themes, so epic, tragic, cataclysmic, deadly, like different human emotions or experiences. That's kind of what I'm trying to bring to the forefront.
Well, it's just a different way of like engaging with an audience. I mean, like
yeah.
There's a lot of these history YouTube channels where it's like a guy with a webcam in a dark lit sort of bedroom, and they're just trying to keep it like sort of interesting enough. I'm fine with however they do it as long as they're teaching people about history, because it is a fascinating subject. I don't know why how some people can get bored with it, because it's like a story.
They get bored with it because of the way it's taught.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm so happy about like all of us taking in different techniques on how to teach it, and no one is teaching it like they teach it in history class, which is great because that's the worst way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it should never be too academic. It's about unpredictable people doing incredible things.
Yeah.
Like Hannibal going over the Alps to invade Rome. I mean, like, if he pitched that idea to you right there and then, would you say it was a stupid idea?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You want to bring elephants there.
History. People always say history is stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
It's freaking insane what some of these characters do. Like when you were doing the series on Rome, you'll recall that sort of at the end of it, when Mark Antony is facing his end and he's kind of like challenging Octavian to like a duel one-on-one. And I had sent you like, hey, by the way, I found this in my notes. Like that actually historically happened. You're like, what? There's no way. I thought that was like made up, like a dramatization.
I know. But, yeah, I was so happy that you told me about that because I had to include it right in the review. Yeah, because it just feels like a good creative way of showing how desperate a character is. But then you're like, oh, I guess people are just as desperate in real life. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
there's so many cool stories to tell. Like even Julius Caesar, like he is a well-known historical character, and people are like, "Oh, cool, he's interesting." They don't really know too much about him, but if you look into his backstory, holy crap, that guy's insane. Like, have you heard about him and the pirates, or him and like all the mistresses and all this stuff?
Well, when he got captured by the pirates,
Yeah. Oh my God.
yeah, he said to their face, like, you got captured by pirates and held for ransom. He said, like, when you let me go, I'm gonna track you down and kill you all. And they're like, oh yeah, go on, mate. And he did. You know.
Well, if I can give like a quick like teaser into why I think he's so awesome. So first, he's like coming from obviously an aristocratic family, but he's kind of an estranged branch of the family, not super wealthy, hasn't been super, like his family hasn't been doing super well as of late, but he's a very ambitious guy. And so when he was young, actually, a lot of these Roman politicians knew that they had to get military experience. So he ended up going up in the ranks, served in the military, fought in the East, and actually he ended up winning one of Rome's like service awards. I don't know if you know about these, but they would give out different rewards to generals or individuals for valor, and Caesar actually won one of them. So he got the Corona, I think it was the grass crown, but basically it's for like endangering your life to save a fellow soldier. So he put himself at risk early on. So he was obviously a brave guy. So that was early on in his career. Later on, he goes and he does these like, he goes and does some studies, and the Mithridatic Wars kick off, and these pirates and raiders start raiding around Rome, hitting these provinces around the Mediterranean. And he kind of his own volition goes and collects a bunch of like provincial troops, like has no authority to do it, collects them and just takes them to fend off an attack from these like raiding forces. So he's doing all this when he's super young, and then later he's traveling around, like you said, he gets captured by these pirates, and the pirates are going to ransom him, and he's super chill, nonchalant, and like to their face, as you said, threatens them, you know, when I get out of here, I'm going to come back and crucify all of you, and they laugh it off. Yeah. And then eventually he pay, you know, the ransom is paid, he makes his way off, and then comes back and literally crucifies all of them.
Isn't that like where he got his epilepsy from? Like he got hit in the head by one of the pirates, and he suffered.
So that's,
yeah.
I'm not quite sure if the epilepsy is like super historically accurate. I'd have to look back again, but I think we're not quite sure about the epilepsy.
Okay, all right. It's just such a random detail that I wouldn't be surprised if it was true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, another cool thing about Caesar too. So obviously he's known as a great general and like a brave guy, but he was actually like a very big like womanizer and a ladies' man. And there's this hilarious scene, or a pretty badass scene, where he's in the Senate, and he obviously has his opponents in the Senate who think that Caesar is doing a conspiracy against them and all this stuff. So all of a sudden, basically Caesar's in the Senate, and someone kind of secretly hands him a note. And his main opponent, I think it was Cicero or someone in the Senate, basically calls out to Caesar saying, see the traitor passing whispers between us. And he's essentially says, Caesar, why don't you read that note to all of us, thinking it's going to be incriminating. And he reads it, and it's literally the love letter from either that guy or another senator's wife saying, oh, Caesar, I love you. Like all this crazy stuff. So he was known to like sleep around with like married women's wives, or married senators' wives, and all this stuff.
Did he finish reading the entire thing, or was he stopped?
Yeah. So he started reading it out, and it was like very illicit and like doing all this stuff. And then the senator who first told him to read it, he's like, "That's enough."
Oh, good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right, Claudia, we got another good one.
Yes, from Jitchevra86. What is your favorite non-historical film?
Oh, God, that's a hard one. Claudia, why don't you go first while I think about it?
Oh, no, I'm still thinking about it. Like, ever since I read the question, I'm like, fuck, what is it?
Well, it's kind of hard, really, because we're obsessed with movies. You know, like...
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
like, it would just have to depend on the genre of...
It's just non-historical is the category. That's it.
Yeah.
Favorite
favorite movie.
Down Lord of the Rings. Amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, are you not a huge fan?
Of course, I'm a huge fan.
I'm a fan of fantasy, but I'm more of a sci-fi person. I think it would have to be the Alien series.
Yes, I just rewatched Aliens with my girlfriend yesterday. She'd never seen it.
I'm a big fan of the xenomorphs. I just like how the designs are for them. It's really interesting.
she's over next to me whispering to tell you guys about Covenant and Prometheus. So she had never seen the original and saw those two first and thought she kind of preferred them, which is
Why?
a tragedy.
Really?
Why?
Only
They
Covenant. she said.
suck in comparison.
Those are so bad.
Yeah.
Oh my-
I mean, they're not terrible, but like compared to the original ones, I mean.
Yeah, I think she liked it because she had never seen like the xenomorph, and if you first see it in that setting, you're like, okay, the movie's shitty, but oh, the xenomorph is pretty cool. But
Yeah,
when you
because-
see it in like the original ones with not only a cool concept but also amazing execution, then yeah.
Mhm.
Well, because in the original one, like you see the xenomorph and alien, and you don't really see much of it. So I can imagine that your girlfriend's gonna be pretty bored watching it. She's like, okay, I already know what it looks like as a sword, like
Yeah, exactly.
bouncing up and down the walls in Covenant. So yeah.
What about you, Nick? You didn't answer.
I'm just trying to think.
Is it like a crime film, or
Um,
are you into fantasies or rom-coms? Come on.
Okay. I don't. Okay, yeah, it's tricky. I know. I'll say Goodfellas. To be honest with you, I don't have a favorite
Goodfellas?
one. I love so many movies because I could just be feeling like Goodfellas today, and then feeling like the Tommy Wiseau's The Room tomorrow. You know.
Oh God.
Hey, that is a cracking good film. Don't you?
I
diss
I
it?
can't wait to see the. I'm not dissing
The
it.
James
I mean, I love
Franco
the
one,
book.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
the
can't wait to
one where
see the
they're redoing
Disaster
it?
Artist.
Disaster Artist. When does that come out?
Yeah, I don't know,
Not
but
soon enough, mate. Yeah.
you need
Maybe
you
so
need
hyped
to
up.
read the book or listen to the audiobook,
I recommend
which
the
is
audiobook,
narrated
yeah.
by. It's narrated by Mark,
Greg Sestero.
the actor, Greg Sestero, the actor, and he actually does a perfect Tommy Wiseau impression.
Wow.
But you need to listen to it because there's a moment where Greg Sestero moves to Los Angeles. He's sharing a room with Tommy Wiseau. Actually, no, Tommy Wiseau is sleeping in the living room. But he creepily comes into the room when he's like starting to go to sleep and is like, "Do you need anything?" And Greg's like, "No." He's like, "Okay," and he slowly closes the door but stops before it locks.
Yeah, he's just standing
And then,
there.
yeah, and just kind of like waiting for him to say something, but Greg is like, "What the fuck is happening?" And then he closes the door, goes on the couch, and says, "Your chicken, chip, 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 chip."
Oh,
And
hi,
I
baby
was
face.
just like-
Hey.
That was one of the cringiest moments. Besides him,
The
he
sex
also
scenes.
when he was the sex scenes, but he would hire the actresses, and once they get past a certain level, he would have to kiss them and make out with them, and only one of them was willing to make out with him for like 10 minutes or more.
Yeah.
It was so cringy, and I really hope they show that in the Disaster Artist. I haven't seen it yet. I'm dying to see it.
Me too. I mean, it's quite funny, like the idea of Tommy Wiseau auditioning all these actresses and then just marking them
Having
on
to
how
make out with them.
making out with
Yeah.
them and saying like, "You're really bad at the kissing, okay?" You know.
Well, no, like he
Lisa.
would say things like, the blonde girl that played the
Lisa.
terrible Lisa. I hate that character. She had like a pimple on her back, and he sees it. He doesn't like say anything subtly. He just yells on set for the makeup artist to come here to clean it up. Clean this. It's disgusting.
We can't have
know?
it. Hollywood
I
movie.
can't have it. Yeah. And he said, "It's not American. It's not American. You need to be American,
Yeah.
Lisa." I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, I hope they include that scene in the movie. That was harsh. So, yeah, if you haven't seen The Room, please get on it. It's one of the greatest films of all time because it's one of the worst films of all time. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. Should we go to another question?
Yes. Let's see. Fat Produce asked, "Would you cover the film Silence?"
I haven't seen it, but I've been looking forward to it. Although some people told me that it's a little bit slow. It's about these Christian priests arriving in Japan to spread the word of Christianity, and I believe one
It's
of them.
when
goes
what's
missing.
his face from Girls. He was also in Star Wars.
Who?
Really tall, awkward Adam. Adam something.
Oh, Adam
The
Garfield.
actor.
You know the one he was.
Driver.
Andrew Garfield.
Driver.
Driver?
No,
Andrew-
Adam Driver.
Oh,
Adam Driver.
Yeah. Adam
Yes.
Garfield is also in it, isn't he? The guy who was Spider-Man.
Andrew. I think Andrew Garfield. That's the
Okay.
name you're looking for.
My
Yes.
apologies. Yeah. But I can't believe I blanked out on that. Kyle, what's the bad guy's name in that new Star Wars movie?
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren, yeah, he's in
Yes.
it. So I haven't seen it yet. So apparently people saying they're not Spanish, they're Portuguese. So I apologize there.
Oh.
Julian, have you seen this film or know anything about it? Like,
No, unfortunately, I don't end up watching as many movies as you, so I'm not too familiar. I have my core movies that I kind of watch and rewatch, and then I'll watch some of the big Hollywood films. But
you know nothing about it? Like you didn't pop in. Oh, it's a Martin Scorsese film. Like he's been working on it for. It's like been in development hell for like several years or something like that. He's been trying to get it made, but it has like a feel like an art house sort of film.
I see it.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Oh, Liam Neeson.
Yeah,
Andrew Garfield. Got it.
Yeah. So a pretty big cast, and it is generally like an interesting period. I think the introduction of Christianity to Japan, feudal Japan at the time, is one of the reasons why it led to its self-isolation. Where, do you know much about that?
A little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, it kind of had like a profound effect on the culture, and they weren't too pleased with it. So I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm interested in watching it.
Really, they weren't pleased with it?
Well, because there was a Christian revolt in Japan. And they practice like a different form of religion. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to sound stupid. But they because of outside influence, they decided to isolate the island of Japan. It could have been after this, or maybe a little bit after. But I know that Japan was mainly isolated, apart from one trading port, until the American captain Matthew Perry arrived and like just pointed his cannons at the Japanese, saying, "Trade with us, or we're going to attack." So, yeah.
Wow, that's great options there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like at that time, the Japanese had like bows and arrows, and you got Matthew Perry armed with like cannons and rifles and stuff. So, what are they going to do?
Have you seen some of that artwork from the Japanese perspective of what gunboats look like?
No.
Yeah, they have
it's
like
so cool.
Evil looking, right? They're kind of like
they draw these ships that almost look like they have faces on them. They're like monstrous looking, almost like sea creatures with let me look it up actually. It's so cool to see like our technology from another perspective. Or I don't want to say our, it's not mine, but you know what I'm saying, kind of modern technology from another perspective.
Yeah. I think I saw it when Claudia, you and I went to a museum somewhere, and we went to the Japanese section showing these paintings. Yeah,
we went to was it the Natural History Museum?
Yes, to the Japanese.
Where was it that we went?
Yeah. It was maybe it was the British Museum, something like that, in London anyway. Yeah.
Yes.
Should we move on to the next question?
Yes. Hourly B asks, have you ever thought to doing a video on Operation Gothic Serpent, aka Black Hawk Down? Also, have you heard of the channel Ahoy? He's more in weapons history. Keep up the great work.
Well, thanks very much, mate. Unfortunately, I'm not too familiar with Ahoy, but I've definitely seen Black Hawk Down, and I've definitely been wanting to do that for a while. It just seems like whenever I kind of want to do it, it's not the right political climate to cover that film. But I definitely want to cover it one day, because I think it's one of the last excellent Ridley Scott films, because I think you all know that I don't exactly have a high opinion of the man when it comes to historical movies, unless he's doing like Thelma Louise, Alien, Blade Runner, stuff like that. So I don't know, but Julie, what about you? Have you heard of the channel Ahoy?
No, I haven't really. Let me look him up.
This guy does videos about...
1 million subscribers, okay.
Yeah, I think we kind of should, we don't really have an excuse.
Well, we need to learn about more history channels on YouTube.
Well, I'm looking at it now. Oh, okay, legendary weapons of first-person history. So he does kind of gaming theme stuff. I guess the stuff focused on weapons is like, weapons you see in games and what's the history of them. So it's not exactly focused on history. I see it.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. That's still pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
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 No, there's so many channels popping up doing this kind of stuff. I think it'd be great, like you said in the very beginning, to do more collaborations. But it's a little hard because of our history format. Like if someone's a blogger or a vlogger, you just literally show up in a video and just do some stupid prank. Whereas for history, you can't show up in a video and necessarily like read a book together.
Yeah, it is really tricky. It's like, hey, have you seen this new channel? No, dude, I've been reading. You know.
Yeah.
I've just been focused on my next video. I haven't had the chance to watch it. Yeah, I didn't even have much of a chance to watch films I want to watch anymore. Most of my time is spent as either watching historical documentaries or reading books or online articles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of upcoming books, you should look for the book Storm Before the Storm. It's by Mike Duncan, who did that History of Rome series.
Okay.
Like the podcast series. I don't know if you've heard of him, but anyways, he did a History of Rome podcast series, super, super popular, and it covers like from the start of the Roman kingdom to the Republic to the Empire to the fall of Rome. Did that whole series, and then now, kind of coming off of that, he finished writing a book and he's going to be publishing a book called Storm Before the Storm. And what it's about is the generation kind of before Julius Caesar's, talking about before the Republic goes to hell, what happened in that time period that kind of laid the groundwork for the complete collapse of the Republic. That's going to be really awesome to read.
That sounds really good. Also eerily similar to today's times. I mean, it's really creepy when you read up on Roman history and we're like, yeah, and, you can see parallels with what's going on.
Yeah,
yeah,
to some degree.
Yeah. So, okay, we got another good question.
Yes, Matthew Aronson.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I mispronounced your last name, Matthew. My question is, would you review Patton, MacArthur, or The Desert Fox? Also, any nonfiction history films you recommend?
I don't know any films about Douglas MacArthur, and I mean, there's Patton. You know, I've got to do that one day because the guy is a fascinating character. The Desert Fox. Is that about? It's not Rommel, is it? Is it the Desert Fox?
He was the Desert Fox.
Oh right, sure. Yeah. I had the guy who played him. I'm just thinking about the movie. Was in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. He played. God, you talk about films I watched when I was 9, dude. I mean, I can't remember. Desert Fox, maybe. I need to watch it again because I watched it when I was very young. And Patton, absolutely, one day. As for films that I would recommend watching, I know. Why didn't you two go first? Name some films that people need to see that they probably haven't.
No pressure. Okay.
Ooh, Logan. Did you guys both see Logan? That was really good. Yeah. Oh my god, I love that.
I cried.
Usually not.
Cried at the end.
Usually not a huge fan of those types of movies, but good god. Oh my god.
Yeah, I did not expect that film at all.
Yeah.
How it ended. I thought it was always going to be a good, happy ending or somewhat happy ending. Everyone makes it out. No, not this one.
I got pissed watching it.
The whole tone of it, like the idea of superheroes usually is like they take a punch, but by the end of the movie they're still on their feet. This one is like chipping away at him the entire movie, and like that R rating used to like super good effect to the point where like it just bears down on you. Like you feel every hit that they take. Good God.
It was awesome. It is really sad because it's superheroes facing mortality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to a normal person, they're considered immortal, or they seem immortal and invincible. But yeah. Oh my gosh.
The one thing I got annoyed watching that film, because I really loved it, was like they finally got it. They finally got Wolverine right, and this is the last one. Fucking hell, this is annoying. Because he did. How many Wolverine movies did he do? Like 7 or 8?
A lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, and this just turned out to be like the Dark Knight of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't think it comes close to Logan. I mean, I had no idea what the hell happened there, but it was lightning in a bottle, and I don't think even they knew how good of a film they had going. So yeah, really good answer. As for me, I mean, I can't think of any films off the top. I'm actually looking at my DVD shelf, like trying to think of a film that's like, oh, I should recommend people to watch. I can recommend a TV show. Spaced, I think, is one thing I believe everyone should watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen it, Julian?
No, I haven't. What's that about?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's Edgar Wright before he became famous. I think he won a competition for a TV network company, and they hired him to work on the TV show Spaced. And it's his entire style and 2 seasons, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I think Shaun of the
Simon
Dead.
Pegg in it, like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, before they got to where they are. Yeah,
it's all the same
really
actors, all the same guys who made Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and The World's End made a television show for 2 seasons called Spaced, and it's just about like a couple of geeks living in a London flat, and there's a reference to a movie every minute.
Few seconds.
Yeah.
Minute. Yeah.
So, like, for example, if Simon Pegg is talking about how he hated his stepdad, and it just cuts to him running as a kid, running away from a guy holding an axe down a hedge maze, like in The Shining, and then goes back. So, absolutely watch Spaced. It's definitely one of the best TV shows ever made.
I think my favorite scene from Space was at the comic book shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where the guy was talking shit to the kid.
Well,
was it about like the Star Wars prequel?
He wanted to buy Jar Jar Binks, and the show came out in 2001 when the Phantom Menace did, and it was like one of the only few. There was no internet really back then, so this is one of the only outlets for geeks to have like, yes, the prequels are fucking turds. I hated them. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's like a low angle shot of him talking to someone, and he's yelling at him, and then it cuts to a little kid who looks like he's crying.
So yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, really good. Definitely check it out, Spaced. Okay, so what's another good question we have?
Let's see. I have to actually scroll through the chat. No one has asked any questions on Twitter yet, so I'm still waiting for that.
We
but
can go through the chat, like just.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna scroll up.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. Alvaro Fisher, will you cover the Pacific? I think we answered this one.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did in the previous live stream.
Is the answer in time?
In time, yeah. I'm not a big fan of the Pacific, unfortunately.
It's just we already did a World War II film before Rome. Now we just did Rome, so I think maybe like 2 more reviews before we go back to that time period.
Because even like, I'll just say this, even history buffs who are really into history, you don't watch like nothing but Roman documentaries for 6 weeks. You like to like, well, unless you're a YouTuber, mate, you know, then you don't. I mean, like you generally like to bounce around like, there's a documentary about Hitler's left testicle on the History Channel. Okay, I'll, watch that. Yeah.
Okay.
or something about the Crusades. You like to, bounce around. I saw a documentary about Hitler being gay, and I thought, like, come on, guys, you're really reaching here. You got nothing else to talk about, whether he was he was a queen.
They're making everyone gay or brown these days, so it's
Yeah, even Nazis. Yeah, apparently.
Exactly.
Careful. Don't want to be flagged for being.
It's okay. Video isn't monetized, so it's okay. David Chipman asks, would you do the Imitation Game?
Yes. I'm gonna kind of have to. I mean, Claudia, you really wanted to do that.
I'm actually a big fan of the Imitation Game.
Yeah. Just
because I was able to film the editor for Ace being interviewed for it, because Ace is America's Cinema Editors. Every year they host a big event. So they get all the editors that are nominated for an Oscar, and they would sit in a room, and then they would just talk about the editing process or the coloring or, really boring stuff. But for some reason, I really loved the Imitation Game because they were really, really into the coloring for the film and the editing and the pacing.
Yeah.
Because the pacing goes a lot. Like, it goes really slow and it goes fast when they're trying to solve it, and then someone's a spy, and then it changes the tone, and it's so good.
Yeah, and you have a crush on ex Benedict Cumberbatch, right?
I actually do not have a crush on
Oh,
Mr. Cumberbatch.
wow.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm not a Cumber Snatch girl, so it's okay.
I thought it was a Cumber bitch. That was the name.
No, Cumber. I think I heard Cumber Snatch. So.
That's more clever. Yeah. No, Julian.
But I am a big fan of that show.
Have you seen Imitation Game, Julian?
Yeah. No, I really liked it. That's the one on the Enigma, right?
Yeah.
Cumberbatch? Yeah,
They
so
cracked the
actually,
code.
we had done, back in high school, we'd gone to visit a kind of a history of cryptography museum, and they showed us the actual, one of the Enigma machines.
The Turing machine.
Or sorry, that machine, and showed us how it worked, and it's freaking crazy that they're able to find out how to crack that. So it was cool to see like the actual machine, how it worked, and then the plot to take it apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even if you have the pieces put together, you can't. That doesn't help you at all. It's so interesting.
Is it like is it covering the same people that Enigma did? The one with Kate Winslet?
The movie?
Yes, the movie with Kate Winslet, Enigma. Yeah.
I actually fell asleep in that one. So.
Yeah. Like I just know that there's a couple of movies about cracking the Enigma code. So I was wondering if it's like the same people or something. Because I don't know, like there's like two movies about Winston Churchill right now. You got like one with Gary Oldman and the other one with Brian Cox. So wondering if it's just like another coincidence.
As long as it's not U571.
Oh,
I think,
yeah, I'm definitely going to be covering.
Be fine.
I am definitely covering that movie. God. Have you
It'll
heard
be
of...
That'll be a short review. You know that.
Yeah, I will. Have you heard of this film, Julian? U571?
Is that one about a U-boat?
Yes.
Can I say it?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
It's because of the Americans. We solved the Enigma code because it was Americans in a submarine that got the Enigma machine, and they cracked it and they solved it. And it's because of America. We won World War II.
Yeah.
And it wasn't totally about the Australians and their deep sea missiles from their planes that shot the submarines. No, of course not. It wasn't them.
Yeah. It's a real movie. It's got Matthew McConaughey in the film, and it came out like in the early 2000s or something. It's I'm gonna save that for a review. So yeah.
A rah America movie.
But like
it never existed. That's the thing. What they did never happened.
I have never seen
like...
a rah American movie where Americans are taking credit for someone else's work. Like that's a little low. Come on, you have to admit that.
I mean, when I first saw it, I was just like, that. I don't think that happened. I looked up. I'm like, of course that didn't happen.
Yeah. No. Well,
then I went to like a forum of men who worked in the military that worked with submarines, and they were just saying, yeah, this is a load of bullshit.
Yeah.
No one would have those guns. I'm like, wow, this is really really passionate people.
What's the next question we got?
Okay, on Twitter, Lord Ramsey 24 asks, how did the Romans become so wealthy?
That's a good question. Julian, this is your department.
Okay.
Take it away, Julian.
It's going to depend on what time period you're talking about.
Stealing other people's shit. That's it.
But I guess you could pair it to their rise to power. So first off, when Rome was like a small village, they were actually pretty well located on the Tiber, but close to some salt marshes, close to trade routes, and very quarrelsome and martial culture that slowly grew over time. But it was like hundreds of years for them to get up to speed and get as large as they were. And then finally, once they started to get control of central Italy, still weren't that rich and powerful. The wealth finally came when they controlled the trade routes throughout the Mediterranean, and finally were able to leverage that. And that obviously came after they were able to beat the Carthaginians in the Punic Wars. You beat the biggest naval power. Obviously, in order to get there, you have to create your own strong navy. So when the Romans defeated Carthage, one, they knocked out their main maritime and commercial opponent. So knock out the competition. Plus, you have a huge navy. So that put them in control of much of the trade routes. And then all of a sudden, you can start reaping the benefits of importing a lot of the wealth and concentrating wealth. So then when they move into Spain and places like that, and you can mine out the silver, the gold, you bring that all home, as well as, having the military being ramped up. and then taking over the Hellenistic kingdoms in the east, you start to bring back spoils of war, either captives to sell into slavery or gold, goods, and all that stuff. So I would say after the Punic Wars, control of the Mediterranean and trade was super important.
That's a really good answer, that. Yeah. Look, I don't have anything to add. Like, he's pretty much summed it all up. You know, it's just like stealing a lot of the Carthaginians' like territorial possessions, like in Spain and stuff. So, yeah. I just noticed a question from Wacky Snacky.
Swacky.
Was it Swacky? Oh, sorry,
Snacky.
Wacky
Yeah.
Swacky. I apologize. Thanks for your donation. She goes, would you guys ever consider doing a behind the scenes for one of your episodes? It would be really interesting to see how you guys conduct your research for each episode. Sorry if I've already asked. Don't worry about that. I don't think anyone's asked that. Claudia, what do you think?
I think it would be the most boring episode possible.
Agreed. Absolutely.
It would just mostly be like a time lapse of either like typing on the computer, like reading stuff and taking notes, or watching a documentary, or occasionally maybe going to a museum. Like if you need to go to the museum to look for something,
Yeah.
maybe that'll be more interesting. But
Yeah. I mean, like,
it'll just be like really boring.
Well,
If-
I was thinking you guys should do for, you know, helping to put up more episodes would be to use your big documentary releases as like the centerpiece, and then release a bunch of smaller, easier to produce videos alongside them. So one of them could be behind the scenes, but instead of behind the scenes, you could just find, maybe extract a little clip from the movie that you're reviewing and talk about that. Like reach out to someone like myself, just have a discussion about, you know, the Battle of Actium, or do like a bunch of little snippets that accompany and build upon kind of your main theme. One of them could be visiting a museum, or it could be, I don't know, reviewing just a clip from a movie, looking at some recent archaeological findings. I think there are easy ways for you to kind of tack on little additional things like that add value to the main episode.
No, we're already kind of thinking about doing stuff like that. It's just like anything
Oh, yes.
involving research is just, if we're not like we're not vloggers, you know, we're all pranksters. Like our lives are kind of based on academia. No, they're boring.
Yeah,
they're
it's-
based on academia. Like,
I'll admit it. My life is boring. I do like the same routine every day,
yeah,
so it's fine.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just very passionate about history. That's the main thing. So,
Well, that's why I think your behind the scenes could be just like discussions about a topic. Like I know when we had our Skype calls kind of behind the scenes for Rome 2, you had certain questions like, why did Mark Antony leave Rome knowing that the Senate would stab him in the back? Like that could have been its own episode, just diving into that question, talking about it.
We actually have a mini Rome video coming out about a very interesting topic, but that's all I'm going to say.
yes,
It's just something weird. It's something really weird that we noticed in Rome that we couldn't put in the first Rome video since we needed to make the review come out soon
and there was
due to
going to be
time constraints. But
exactly, because this Rome review was like 6 weeks overdue already, and I apologize that guy, but I hopefully got like a bigger review out of it, and I can't think of anywhere this would have fit into what I already.
it was just really, really weird in the show.
Yeah.
Well, we'll tell you later, Julian, about it. I think you'd be really interested in it.
Yeah,
but
it's very nitpicky. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's interesting anyway. Okay, cool. So next one.
yes, Jorgen Olsen asks, Are you ever want to review the series Heavy Water? Or I think, do you ever want to review the series Heavy Water?
Heavy Water. What's that?
I don't know. I haven't.
Is he talking
Anyone
about?
in the chat know about it? It's like a
Julian,
TV
do you know he's
series.
talking about that? I was wondering if you
Water.
meant Open Water. Like, did they make a TV series out of that shitty film? You know, it's like
Maybe that could be a joke review of that movie.
Oh yeah. You know,
How an actor-
apparently it's based on a true story. You know,
No. I hate movies that are based on true stories that have nothing to do with the true story
I was looking at the
at all.
based on true events. I'm like, really? Yeah.
Yes, and then everybody dies, and it's like, how do you know this happened? You don't.
Yeah. I haven't seen Heavy Water, unfortunately. Sorry about that. I'm just googling it right now.
Does that have to do with heavy water, like
Are you taking...
for nuclear bombs?
I'm guessing so. Yeah. I'm just going to the TV series thing now. Dramatic account of one of the most exciting episodes of the Second World War. This is just what's on Google already. I haven't seen it yet, but about the German nuclear weapons project. I didn't even know about this. This could
That's
be
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna.
It'll be like another, maybe like another not space, but like science film to cover.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Apollo 13, we haven't found another one that would be really fun.
Yeah. I just gotta make sure not to do another big hour-long, feature History Buffs episode. Gotta condense it down.
I mean, you can do an hour-long one, but you just need to release it earlier.
Not take break it
up. Like a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe like have them in 2 parts or something.
Okay, I'm definitely going to check this out because this sounds pretty interesting. Heavy water war. Okay, next question.
Okay, next question. Let's see. Jorvis Van de Bus asks, would you be interested in doing an episode on the screenplay for Stanley Kubrick's unfinished Napoleon project?
You want me to do a review of a screenplay?
I would actually prefer to wait until the movie comes out for that one.
No, it's Stanley Kubrick. He's dead.
I know. I remember his, what was it, 2000 movie?
Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah. Okay, the deal with the Napoleon was that he was going to do a big feature film about Napoleon Bonaparte, but based on how badly the film Waterloo was received, he decided to quit on Napoleon, and he did Barry Lyndon instead, which is a real shame because A, I think Waterloo is one of the greatest films ever made. Fuck anyone who doesn't like that film. I'm sorry. And B, dropping it because of just because one film about Napoleon doesn't do well doesn't mean you drop everything, especially if you're Stanley Kubrick. I'm really interested to know what that film would have been like. So, I don't know, Julian, do you know anything about this?
Nope.
Have you never seen Waterloo?
I saw your review of it. You made me want to watch it, but I haven't gotten around to it.
Dude, you got to watch it. It's the biggest war film ever made. It's absolutely incredible.
I feel so bad for the ADs on that film set.
Well,
trying to wrangle everybody. All the actors go here. Horse wranglers here. Weapons guy, we need you. Just trying to get everybody together.
Nah, Soviets efficiency, they're fine. They're cool.
It's just chaos. Come on.
So, would I ever review a screenplay? No, I need to have something visual to show. Otherwise,
it's I do want to talk about this one movie. A lot of people keep recommending Gangs of New York.
Yes.
I would love to have that as a film review for History Buffs, a really big 30-minute review. But the issue is there aren't that many documentaries about it, so that's why I'm a little hesitant.
That's a tricky one to cover. I mean,
I'll look into it a little bit more, but
okay, yeah.
I mean, we do have a lot of projects coming up, a lot of really awesome stuff, especially for this month coming up.
Yeah. So, what else we got?
Well, first, I want to give a shout out to our friend, Red Team Review, Carmine, who is still in the chat for some reason. I've never seen him stay this long for the show.
Hey, Carmine. Hello.
Hi, Carmine. Usually he stays for 10 minutes and he goes away.
Yeah, just to show his love.
He's still here.
Yeah. What does he say?
Carmine.
Did he have a question or was he just fucking around?
He's talking to everybody and just fucking around.
Okay. All right. Cheers,
That's what
buddy.
he does best. Yeah.
Okay. What other question we got?
Another question on Twitter from CM Rams asks, what would you consider one of the most significant moments in history? No pressure.
Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure there. Uh, I think like the discovery of the new world. Honestly,
My world? Yeah.
yes, your world, a
Yes,
whole
my
new
world.
world. Yeah,
Yes.
it kind of like stopped all this sort of squabbling in Europe. Not doesn't stop it, but like it expanded their sphere of influence. So that's what I think. Julian, what do you think?
Oh, there's so many choices. You could either go, I mean, I would obviously go one of the many times Rome could have been knocked out and changed history. Like so many times they could have been killed. But it's interesting because like that question, there's different ways to answer it. It makes the most sense the further back in history you go and the more you tweak a variable, the more it like butterfly effects throughout the course of history.
Ooh.
So theoretically, you could go back and like talk about, I don't know, what was it like hundreds of thousands of years ago, the first group of humans, like the population was down to about like just a couple of thousand of us. And the human population could have just gone extinct in that time period, but somehow they pulled through, survived, and became us, obviously.
Yeah, but nobody was around to record it, so you know.
Yeah. So technically, again, not written history. But another one I would say more recent would be, I think during the Cold War, there was, I believe it was on the Soviet side that there was a malfunction with their detection system, and it was saying that the U.S. had launched nuclear weapons at them, and obviously. In that scenario, the MO was like fire back, you know. But the operator held his fire, decided not to, double check, and then found out that it was a bug before actually firing a nuke off.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. That is the best answer. It's there's a documentary coming out, guys, called "The Man Who Saved the World." And it's a Danish documentary about Stanislav Petrov, who was a former lieutenant who worked in the Soviet Union, and his job was basically like to be like be first response if the Soviet Union was ever attacked by nuclear missiles, and the computer started blaring that America launched ICBMs, and he had to make a decision about whether to tell people if the bombs were actually arriving.
To pick up the phone or not.
Yeah, and and I think the reason why the computers were saying that was simply to do with the satellites being hit by
the sun.
The sun, like a solar flare or something like that. So if he, God, man, like if he was like a trigger happy guy, like we wouldn't exist today. That's the thing. Like he knew to reserve himself. Thank God. So like literally, this is the guy who saved the world. 100%, yeah. So,
I know you really wanted to do a video on it.
I did, yeah.
Recently, but we were trying to finish up Rome, so we didn't have time.
Yeah, because the guy, he died this year. And,
yeah. I heard about that.
Yeah. But the documentary's supposed to come out soon. It's meant to be really good.
Yeah, we should totally team up on that. I'd love to do an episode, so if I do research, I could help, send it your way, or we'll see what happens.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Go up for that.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. A question from Matthew Aronson. I got it this time. Yes. Or I think I did. Are you going to review Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or any Wild West movie? I think that would be actually fun.
I would like to do Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid. I definitely need to do some more westerns. I was kind of thinking that if I did a western, I want to do Ned Kelly. And I've probably said that before, but...
Yes, you did tell me about that one, Ned Kelly, the Australian guy, right?
Australian outlaw who was, at the time, I think he was the most wanted man in the British Empire. And
with him and his kangaroos.
Yes,
riding in the West.
I'm sorry, like the outback was a little bit more of a dangerous place than the Wild West. I'm just saying. And he comes out and there's a final shootout with the police wearing like the medieval armor, and he's got like 2 pistols and he's firing at the cops before he finally gets gunned down. It's pretty awesome, and I think Heath Ledger plays him in the movie. So, yeah. Have you seen that, Julian?
No, that you're selling me on a bunch of things to go watch.
Yeah. I was just thinking like a Wild Western film in Australia, and that's what it is.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have a question from Meandrus Phoenix. Yes, I see your question. Invicta is a Roman Total War YouTube doing nuclear war. LOL. Hell yeah.
Well, yeah, that's kind of why I did the rebranding, because I used to be just Total War battle, focused on the Total War series, which is limited in its scope. But the Moment series isn't tied to Total War, so it allows me to do stuff like, oh, on a romp, let me just go do something about nuclear war, and I can totally do that without kind of like breaking stride. And yeah, I'd love to cover something like that. That's a super interesting topic.
Did you change your channel's name?
Yeah, so like I said in the very beginning, I came from the Halo Forge epidemic, branched off, and we just called it THFE Productions, and then I did a rebrand to Invicta as like kind of a general history theme.
Does it affect how your channel is found at all? I mean,
yeah, it did it. It did a little bit at first, but to be honest, my name THFE Productions wasn't helping anyways. Like, it has no tie to what I was actually doing and is a mouthful. So I lost some subscribers at first when they started to see videos coming out from a new channel. They're like, unsubscribe. I don't know what that is. So I lost a little bit of speed, but it's been a net positive.
Okay, cool. Got another one, Claudia?
Yes, let me pull it up. Mega Skrillex asks, sorry, will you cover, or what's your opinion on Mosley TV series?
I have no idea what that is.
I've never heard of that either.
I'm really sorry, mate. Julian, can you help us out? Yeah.
No? Okay, someone in the chat, say something. The Mosley TV series?
Yeah, there can be a delay.
Okay, well, it's fine.
Yeah, we just have like dead air, just hang, you know. Okay. Sorry. Next one.
Oh, here's a good one.
Yeah.
Guinness SLV asks, any excitement for the new Red Dead Redemption?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. When did the first one come out? How long has that been?
I remember playing it in college. So it was a long time ago.
Was it 2008?
No, I think it was like 2010, 2011, or maybe 2008. Actually, it might have been 2008. But I remember playing.
Initial release 2010.
You were right, 2010.
Yeah. But I remember playing it, trying to get the unicorn.
Yeah.
To ride, and trying to get the chupacabra, and looking for Bigfoot, and just, I don't know why I love the whole like dead part of the Red Dead Redemption. So it was really fun.
Yeah. That game was amazing. So I'm really looking forward to this. Is it taking place? It's actually taking place in the Wild West, because in the first one it was in the final days of the Wild West, like in 1911 or something.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption, I think, is taking place like in the 1800s rather than in the turn of the 20th century.
I can see that, actually.
Yeah,
it
seems so. So anyway, yes, I'm especially looking forward to it, and if I go missing for a couple of weeks whilst it's out, you know where to find me. That's all I'm saying.
No, I wouldn't let that happen, because they want their videos, and you will not go missing until the videos come out.
Well, then you'll just see lots of Let's Plays, you know.
We're going to be doing Let's Plays now.
Well, that's actually one of my questions for you. Have you ever considered doing, like, playing a historical video game and just talking over it? About, like, the relevant history, or giving context for it, or something like that? There's a fair amount of games that could cover that.
I suppose I could. I mean, like, I do like the Total War games, but
that's what I'm trying to get you in on.
Yes, I know. Yeah. So you feel like doing Rome 2? He's like, come on, man. Yeah. Maybe. I don't like talking that much during a video game. I'm kind of one of those people who tells other people to shut up, you know, whilst they're playing. But I don't see any reason why not. Yeah, I mean, I think like, a lot of my stuff is scripted, because I want to give out as much information within a short period of time without doing all the stutterings and ums and ahs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if we're just doing it for fun, then absolutely. If we could just forget like we're doing a...
Maybe we can do it on Twitch.
Yeah, I suppose we could. Yeah. And I would ask the community if hopefully they like the idea of it.
Of doing historical Let's Plays.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I have a good question.
Yes.
From Luis Aviles. He asks, which great you feel deserved that title the most? Alexander, Ivan, or Cyrus? And why?
Cyrus.
Why?
Cyrus the Great, if he is who I'm thinking he is, I mean, like, Johnny, you can tell me if I'm full of shit, but he's the guy who founded the Persian Empire, right?
Was it the Arsacid dynasty, or but no, you're right. One of the original Persian empires.
Yeah. So Alexander the Great, he's called the Great because he made like one of the greatest empires in the world. But Cyrus is the one who sort of established the Persian Empire, and Alexander just sort of came and nicked it. He's like, now this is my empire. But Cyrus, the one who's established it in the first place, and he. His people definitely benefited from his rule, so I feel Cyrus the Great.
And I'll definitely back that up because he was known obviously for uniting a huge swath of land in a this is the old world, essentially a place where civilization had gone on for the longest time. You have all these civilizations, the Assyrians and all that coming and going. He consolidated all of it, which is a big triumph. And then when he came to rule, he's the one I believe who started to set up kind of the system of satraps. He was kind of like a bean counter, very good about organization and focused a lot on that. Whereas many of the other conquerors, the greats, are known for killing, slaughtering, and stuff like that. And he was more of like a builder as opposed to the other ones being terror downers, destroyers.
It's much easier to go and wipe out people than it is to actually build on something to add to society. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and someone in the chat is talking about Hardcore History's series on the Persian Empire. Definitely listen to that podcast series. It's called King of Kings. Really great stuff. I recommend that one.
I only only did the one about the Mongols. That's the only one I've listened to.
You should watch King of Kings. That one's a really good series. It starts kind of biblical period, early Persian Empire, and it goes all the way up till Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
And goes past it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Who else?
All right. David Alked asks, Nick, do you watch Red Letter Media? And if so, do you like them? Do you, Nick?
Yeah. Do you? Yes, I do. Red Letter Media is a channel that directly inspired history buffs. When I watched his review of the Star Wars prequel, The Phantom Menace, if you haven't seen it and you hate the Star Wars prequels, please watch it. Red Letter Media, the Star Wars they're absolutely hilarious because they do. I think he kind of helped invent the video essay format, or at least directly inspired myself and many others who. Because if you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, I can totally tell that this is the history buffs is inspired by this. So yeah, I really really like them.
Can I chime in really quick?
Yep.
Thank you, Thomas Gannon, for your donation.
Crap. Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah. And you didn't say a comment, but whatever it is you were going to say, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Shoot.
Shit,
crap.
Yeah.
Thomas, so message us on Twitter, and then maybe we'll talk to you about maybe the next review.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're interested in learning about the Halloween historical horror review that we have.
Yeah.
Or that we're making.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks, mate. What else? What other question we got?
Stefan Treneman asks, what do you think of The Seventh Seal?
I think that's a film that people keep telling me to watch ever since film school, and I never actually got around to it. Is that the one with what's his name? There's a bit in the movie where Death is playing chess with someone, The Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
I've never actually
No.
seen it. Have you seen it? I think
Nope.
it's
No,
like an old
no,
black and white.
I've never heard of it, but
Yeah, it's an old black and
you
white
have
Polish
me interested
movie.
now.
Oh, because I said that the Grim Reaper plays chess with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Unless I'm talking about the film, and yeah. Okay, maybe I'm full of shit. I'm sorry. That's just the first thing that popped. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, Julie. I forgot to ask you, mate. Like, have you? Do you know the Red Letter Media? Do you watch their stuff?
No. What's some of their work?
They do
The Star Wars reviews.
the Star Wars.
You have to see
no.
those.
Basically,
They're really good.
They're really, really good. They're really in-depth video essay format before other people were doing it, and the main character is a murderer who just is obsessed with Star Wars, and he goes into really innate detail about how stupid it is. If you're going to take anything away tonight, just type in Red Letter Media Star Wars, and you'll definitely see like how it inspired a lot of YouTube videos today.
I see. Yeah, I'm looking at them now. Looks like they do a lot of movie reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like millions of views or something like that. And it's really,
They're
really
really funny too.
good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See.
Okay. Yep.
So Thomas Gannon said that his message never sent, and it's okay. You can always just message us in the chat, whatever it was, just at History Buffs. But the next question we have is from Julio Cardenas, and he asks, are you going to review a non-English historical movie? I recommend 2 Mexican ones, The Resent Puebla and For Greater Glory. That second one covers the Cristero Rebellion.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to need to cover some eventually.
I know one. I know one specifically that you should cover.
Are we talking about
the
that
one
Spanish?
about the Spaniards trapped in the Philippines in the church. That one is really good.
What's the Spanish name, actually, Claudia? Because you could actually say it, but I can't. It's like 1898, our men in the Philippines or something like that. Yeah, it's about like during the last days of the Spanish Empire. Like Spain was fighting a war with America, and it gave orders to some of its men in the Philippines to protect a church. And the Spanish soldiers hold on to this church for like months and months without any relief. And it turns out like the Spanish just surrendered the Philippines over to the Americans and totally forgot about them. So they're just it's a pretty cool film. Yeah.
It's called 1898, Los Últimos de las Filipinas.
Yeah.
The Last of the Philippines.
The Last Men of the Philippines. I think it's on Netflix, and it's a really, really good film.
It's really good. It's really dramatic and claustrophobic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as for Mexican films, I definitely need to broaden my horizons and watch more. So, yeah.
Okay, this one person, thank you to the Phoenix in the chat for pointing it out to me, has been asking the same question for an hour.
Okay, what's that?
Are you, Alki Brute asks, are you interested to cover Sahara by director Brian Trenchard Smith, History Buffs? It has to do with the African campaign in World War II. And then a bunch of emojis after it.
I don't know why, but I keep thinking of that Matthew McConaughey film.
Yeah, that's all I thought about when he said Sahara.
It's like, all right,
Where there's a U.S. Civil War like Ironside ship that ends up in Africa or something.
Should I do that as a just to be a prick, you know? Just like, all right, you want me to review it to the Matthew McConaughey film?
No, if you're gonna do that, it would have to be a Mel Gibson movie. And we both know which one it would be.
You told me to stop doing Mel Gibson movies because they were pissing people off.
No, they were pissing you off. You had like your veins popping out of your head just from out of anger.
Yeah.
you see your voice is going up.
Okay, yeah.
You get pissed, yeah.
I know. I mean, Julian, what do you think about Mel Gibson movies? Not Lethal Weapon. I'm talking about his historical stuff.
Wait, well, I've always been a fan of Braveheart, obviously, but never saw it as a historical film. You can't take any of his stuff as a historical film. You take it separate, okay, maybe it's kind of like an interesting movie. The Patriot, like all of his movies I had seen before I was at all interested in history, and so I never really went back and rewatched them. So I still have maybe rose-tinted glass that they're like, oh, okay, half-decent movies.
That's exactly what you have. You need to watch them again, and I promise you're going to be pissed off, especially, given your occupation now.
I mean, I think his films are beautifully shot. Like, it has really good cinematography.
Yes.
And I think maybe you should just mute the entire movie, and then you'll enjoy it more. Just because even, like, some of the dialogue just makes me roll my eyes. Especially in The Patriot. I'm like...
You know what? How about like we do clips from The Patriot and we redub it to be historically accurate.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Actually, wouldn't mind doing that. So yeah. Okay, cool. Next question.
Next question. Kyle Erickson asks, "Are you guys going to do Beneath Hill 60 though?"
Is that a World War One movie?
Idea. I have no idea.
Think about what my Think of Passion does. I need to Google it. Sorry, very quickly. It was called Beneath Hill. What?
Beneath Hill 60.
Yes. Let's see.
During World War I, a mining engineer and his team dig a network of tunnels beneath German lines.
Oh, it's about all the Australians. No, but I would like to cover it actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I haven't seen it yet, unfortunately, but definitely got to get on that. So
I had actually gone out to my parents are French, and so I'd go back to France every once in a while. My dad had taken me to Verdun, and you can go out into the woods and see the collapsed tunnel networks from these mining operations. It's ridiculous. You go out and there's still huge cavities in the ground out there.
That's pretty cool.
Wait, cavities?
Just big, like almost meteor impact size craters.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. Okay, next question.
Kodar Gaming asks, "Can you do a World War I review, even if it's Battlefield 1?
I did Lawrence of Arabia. That totally counts. Well, I have to. Yes, I have to think about which one to do. Maybe I could do this film because I'm trying to think. The one World War I film I saw recently was The Somme, which I thought was pretty awful. And Julian, have you seen it?
No.
It's got Daniel Craig in it, and the whole film is fine until the very end when they go over the top. When they go over the top, no man's land is a meadow with grass and flowers. I'm like, wait, what? Are you kidding? Wait, what? You know, it just because it's like a low budget film, and they just didn't bother making no man's land look like an actual wasteland. So I got really pissed off watching it. And I think I was like 13 at the time. So
you should for World War I, you should do Joyeux Noël.
That's
what I was thinking for Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah.
A nice Christmas movie.
Yeah. Actually, something else that doesn't involve people killing each other, for a change, and a positive Christmas review. So yeah.
A question for you, Julian. Someone is asking if your parents are French.
Oh yeah, both of my parents are French. Actually, I guess I don't know what you call it, first generation U.S. If the parents are going to be the first one, or if it has to be the kids. But anyways, I was born in the States.
Okay, so first generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Didn't know that about you.
The most asked question is asked by Spencer King. Where did your old intro go?
I haven't really answered this a million times.
I know, but I feel like no one bothers either going to the old intro page
video,
like the old intro video, or listening to the other
The old,
podcasts.
yeah, the old intro
But-
is safely stored in the archives of history buffs. So you go through the videos and you'll see History Buff's original intro. So that's where it is if you wanna watch it on its own.
But for the real reason why it's no longer up, simple, copyright and YouTube. So you
Yeah.
can't do that
Yeah,
anymore. If it's on a new video, then they take it down. Simple as that.
Copyright people complaining that the intro was too long because it's like 60
Too long,
seconds. Yeah.
blah, 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 the music, blah, blah.
Yeah. So
That's
it's
it.
much easier just to crack on with the show. Like, 10 seconds, boom, there we go with the video. So yeah.
Yeah. Stefan Traneman asks, what do you think about Tintin Adventures?
Oh, I love them. I mean, like, Julian, did you ever read Tintin when you were a kid?
Yeah, I grew up having those read to me, Astérix and Obélix, Blake et Mortimer,
Yeah.
all the original ones in French. Those are freaking classics. I loved them. I even actually liked the animated film that they put out. It's pretty cool. I'm still waiting for the second one to drop.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. Oh, wait, are you talking about the Steven Spielberg one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
I don't think they're going to do that, man, because like not many people know about Tintin. I'm totally with you, by the way. Like, I was watching the cartoon series when I was a kid, and as well as reading the comics. Tintin is awesome, really good.
Well, the
Even
movie
if
they
it-
released was a
yeah.
part 1 of 2, wasn't it?
Yeah,
At least in the comic book series, the ones they were covering was a multi-part series in the comics.
Well, the cartoons. There was a cartoon series that came out in the 80s or 90s. I can't remember when. That covers most of the graphic novels. But I thought you were just talking about the Steven Spielberg movie with made by Andy.
Yeah, the
Serkis.
recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, the recent one that was animated. Yeah, that one covers, I believe, part 1 in a series of like a greater story. in
Yeah,
the
it was
original.
Crab with the Golden Claw.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like Crab with the Golden Claw along with something else. But yeah, it didn't do very well in the box office. So that's why they didn't do it.
That's too bad.
Have you also seen how racist Tintin was? You know, in the original.
Oh God, the one in
comics?
Africa. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was in the bookshop with Claudia. I was like, "Hey, Claudia, check this out." And she's like, "Oh, Jesus."
Pretty
fucking
shocking.
Christ."
I've never heard of Tintin
Yeah.
at all, and I didn't grow up with it. I saw the trailer for the animated movie, and I thought that's so cute. And then Nick showed me that, and I was like, "Fuck, okay." I mean, it's
Yeah.
of its time.
I felt like I was
guess.
showing her a dirty magazine. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, check
I-
this."
Just out of nowhere. Just, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, hey, if you ever want to get some light reading, get Tintin in Africa. Yeah. Hey, you gotta have a go at it. It was made in the 1920s, so or
It does
30s.
have some cool scenes in it. Like he blows up a rhinoceros with TNT and stuff. Like for
Yeah.
a children's book, they're not messing around.
Yes. I'm sure Peter would have a field day
Yeah.
with Tintin. So, yeah. Yeah.
New question from Union Jack the Ripper. Ooh, dangerous. With what is happening with Spain, would you review films like Land and Freedom and Liberties? Also, Invicta, big fan of your channel. What happened to the evolution of
Oh,
the
God.
Roman army series?
I'll answer that after you go.
Okay. I think he's talking about the independence movement going on in Spain right now. I don't know, Claudia. Are we allowed to go to? You said to be careful with politics if it's too current right now. Yeah.
Yeah, just because I mean, for some reason, especially in America and Canada, people are like really hyped with any type of political stance. So if you say you're anywhere in left or right or even in the center, people would have a fucking field day.
Yeah, I think they hate you
In the
even more if
comments.
you're in the center because then they can't define you easily. It's like, no, you got to be either this or that. You can't be somewhere in
it's
the
just
middle.
like it's like everything is black and white, and you're either alt-right Nazi or you're a leftist regressive
Yeah.
or Antifa person. So it's just I'm not gonna go ranting about this because I've had conversations. I don't want to talk more about this because then I'd just be talking for like 30 minutes. But it's okay to get political, but just not too political. Just because I don't want the comments to be like a fucking riot at Berkeley. I don't want any of that right now.
Yeah, I mean, preferably, I would like to follow common sense, really.
Exactly.
And
then especially like if you lean any way, like if you're too left, you're a cuck, and if you're too right, you're a Nazi. It's like, okay, guys, that's the only comments you can say. Really?
Exactly, yeah.
And especially since everybody likes to live in an echo chamber, they only want to hear from their perspective. And they're not willing to sit down and actually listen to somebody from a different point of view. Like I'm subscribed to a lot of different people on YouTube just because I want to hear their perspective on it. It's like, okay, I want to listen to a conservative's point of view on DAPL and why they thought the protesters were wrong. And then I want to listen to someone who was actually there or someone who believes that the protesting was right. You know, it's good to have both sides of the coin instead of one.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, people are just these days. I don't know, just everyone is talking about politics. It's either Trump this or Trump that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phoenix says he leans north. Fuck the middle and left and right.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go.
That's why, yeah. Sorry, Juliet. So are you ever going to make that Rome series?
I'm sorry,
okay.
Julian.
Yeah. So to get, I guess, hit that one. What he's referring to is almost 2 years ago, I had started a documentary series called Evolution of the Roman Legions. Very ambitious project. It was going to start from the founding of Rome and look at 200 period chunks at how the Roman military evolved. So looking at organization, leadership, equipment, training, traditions in 200-year sections. And so two years from today, or from, I guess, soon, will mark when episode 1 came out. So I haven't gotten much further, but that's because it's such a daunting project. It's really cool. No one's ever done it, and I want to get back to it. But I don't know. Like, episode 1 was about almost the legendary period of Rome's history with, like, Romulus and Remus, era of the kings, where you don't have much recorded history. But I still managed to make it into, like, a 20-minute video with, like, like a 18-page script or something on a time period that isn't well studied. I started writing the script for the next episode, and it's literally like 3 times as long, going to be like 40 minutes. And so like it's exponentially more and more work. And so that's why I put it on hold, because it was too much work to do. But I'd really, really like to get back to it, because it's, like I said, no one's really done it before, and it's awesome to be able to, when it would be done eventually, to be able to follow, as the title says, the evolution of the Roman legions. Because the first 2 episodes don't even get to the legions that people are familiar with. I mean, the first episode talks about them fighting as like almost like barbarians. Second episode, when I get to that, is going to be covering them fighting like the Greeks in a hoplite formation. Third episode is finally going to be them fighting in maniples, but you still don't have the cohorts and the fighting with Lorica Segmentata that you get in the Civil War period or with Julius Caesar. So that's really cool. Really hope to get back to it, but I don't know. YouTube isn't making it easy to get back to that when I have easier, lower hanging fruit that I can pick on.
Yeah, that's true. So Claudia, I just want to answer a question by Thomas Gannon, because he didn't say the question before. So he said, Nick, you mentioned in Goodfellas that you have a couple of mental disabilities like dyslexia. Do the disabilities ever impact the making of your reviews? And in quick answer to your question, yes, they do. I have difficulty sometimes in coordinating my thoughts together, and I sometimes I overthink things a lot when making.
I do.
Yeah. But it's just simply because I want to try to make the best review I possibly can. I don't like half-assing it, and so Claudia, so you have to get on my case and like, okay, you don't have to worry.
No, like I just try to like tell you like, hey, don't worry, everything is fine.
Yeah.
We have plenty of time. We're either ahead of schedule or we're going the perfect pace. Just finish up the script, then you record, and then it gets edited, and then we talk about the next review, and then research, and the cycle continues.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, like,
just telling you that everything is fine.
Yeah.
Really.
I think anyone who suffers from dyslexia and dyspraxia, they have their own process of doing things, and things that they sort of suffer from how normal people sort of do it. They make up for it in a different way. So even though I can't coordinate my thoughts as easily, I know what I need to do. I just need to put a little bit of extra work into it. That's all. So, Julian, do you have any?
You're fine.
Yeah, Julian, do you have any problems like that?
I used to be pretty shy. Had like trouble speaking up and stuff like that. So YouTube has been like therapy, I guess.
Yeah.
Just learning to talk off the cuff. And yeah, just share and teach. Actually, being able to put together documentaries, do research, present, consolidate your thoughts has really helped. Not only when I was studying for real, but actually in like a professional setting when I have to give presentations and stuff. It's been super helpful. And then also having like a creative outlet is really great for personal problems where maybe you don't like where your career is going or things are so slow or whatever. YouTube's a great outlet. Almost therapeutic, I would think.
Yeah, it's
sometimes
more like trial under fire, I think.
Yeah. Therapy through a bed of needles, perhaps.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
Great way.
It's like they just, kick you out of the nest.
Yeah.
And expect you to fly.
A shiatsu massage, I don't know
Yeah.
what the analogy is.
To be honest with you, I think like every YouTuber has at least one thing wrong with them, that's, because this isn't a real normal job. You have to admit, like it's not the typical 9 to 5. So you've got to you automatically think in a very different way. So
yeah, it's like we don't have weekends.
No, that's definitely true. And do you have weekends, Julian?
I have half of Sundays sometimes.
Half of Sundays, yeah, like today, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no weekends, no late nights anymore. Just but it's fine. I mean, it's for making fun stuff. So.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Yeah.
I have an interesting question for you, Julian.
Oh.
Yes. From Intros V7 asks, how long have Oakley and Chris known each other?
You mean Nick?
I think okay. I thought Chris was someone else. That's why I'm like, oh, maybe you know him.
Not that I know.
Okay. I think Chris.
Just a few weeks, right?
Yeah. No, I think it was when I saw your video on Rome, sent you an email, and then I can't remember how many days, but you responded almost instantly, like, oh yeah, actually this is like super relevant. I just saw your video, and then I think we popped into a Skype call and just had a really nice chat. So yeah, no, it's been quick relationship. And I think what would be cool would be to try and pull you into one of these Total War events coming up.
Yeah.
To try and get you out to one of their events so we can meet in person. Would be cool. You can convince them that, I don't know, Claudia is your camera woman or something. Bring her along too.
I'd be totally up for that. Yeah.
That'd be fun. I've seen Nick play Total War, and I would get so pissed off when he'd play.
Yeah, why is that? Because he wasn't paying attention, or
I was
bad?
conquering the Dominican Republic, and that's what
I told him to leave it alone, and he's like, "Okay, I'm not anywhere near that place. Don't worry about it." And so while I'm in the other room, like working on something, and then I go to check, and then I just see a British flag there. I'm like,
yeah.
I was liberating it from your Spanish oppressors. You should be thanking me, actually.
We liberated ourselves.
No,
okay.
no.
Yes, we did.
I did it earlier. In 1703. So.
Fuck off.
Okay, I think we got like a few more questions to answer, and then we're gonna wrap this up.
A question from Twitter, from Raymond Arrow Jr. asks, Have you ever seen the A&E TV movie The Crossing? Jeff Daniels plays George Washington crossing the Delaware River on Christmas.
Not at all.
No,
You
that actually
guys?
sounds like a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julian, you heard of it?
Oh, no, sorry. I was
No.
typing in the chat trying to respond to some of people asking me questions.
Oh, well, you can answer their
they're-
questions if you want.
Yeah.
Well, they're using opportunities to get at me. Like, there are a couple series that I had started off before but never finished, and so now people are coming out of the woodwork asking me to get back to them. So the general message is they're on hold for the time being as I get the Moment series underway. I'll get back to them.
Hey, dude, people keep asking me, like, what happened to your intro? When are you going to change the intro? The intro is not as good as it used to be, you know. It's like, it's been nearly 2 years. Seriously, let it go.
It's okay. They're nostalgic about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, moving right along. Which one?
Sorry, that voice throws me off so much.
Yeah.
Let's see. Come on, guys, ask us some questions about.
People had asked some questions about alternate history and some of the other history channels. Have you ever looked at them?
What do we think about them?
Yeah, I think so.
what was the
We
other one?
already collabed with Alternate History.
Oh, you did? What was that on?
Yeah,
On
for
Apocalypto.
Apocalypto. He made an appearance in our video.
Yes.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the other guy? Alternative history, and who was the other person?
Oh, I'm trying to find that message again.
Extra credits. That's it.
Yeah.
We already spoke about them before. Like, I only saw one extra credits video, and that was when they were talking about that Korean admiral who saw off that Japanese armada. They made a movie about him called Admiral Roaring Currents, which is a really good South Korean film. I definitely recommend that you guys watch. So, yeah.
There's a huge interest into the alternate history stuff. You look at his videos; they do amazingly well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's speculation stuff, you know, like, what if Rome colonized America?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it's
Or
such
what
a cool...
if? Yeah.
Oh, actually, that maybe brings me to another topic. So that's like what if scenarios are very cool.
But they're not
this
based
made
on
me-
history, though.
Right, exactly. Which is like
They're
it would
100
be
speculation.
awesome-
Well, like, what if cheese was made of pebbles? You know?
Well, it'd be awesome if someone could go in with enough relevant historical expertise to actually play it out. And what that brought to mind is I don't know if you've ever heard of Rome, Sweet Rome.
Rome Sweet?
No.
Oh, okay. This is freaking awesome. Okay, so there, I'll tell you a little bit about it. So this is like an alternate history thing that popped up on Reddit. Can't remember what the origins were, but there was this writer who was going into various other subreddits and asking questions. So he went to the r/ask historian subreddit, I believe, and he started to ask them about, like, you know, what would happen if the modern U.S. military, like one of their divisions from, I don't know, the Iraq War, was dropped into the Roman Republican period, or was it was dropped into the late Republican period of Rome. How would they handle the situation? How would Rome react? What would end up happening? And then you had like historians coming in and contributing. Then you had people from like the U.S. military side of things contributing about like, oh, the army would have this many rounds of ammunition, would have food that would last this amount of time. And then you had people come in from the subreddit from like script writers to give advice on how you write a certain script and putting it together. And then finally you had the lawyer subreddit people come into the conversation and tell him, hey, this is a really important idea, and if you want to pursue this, take it off the internet immediately. So he did that, and it's been picked up by Hollywood, and I believe they're working on a film.
What's it? Do you know?
That's
if
really
it's got a
cool.
name? Because I was thinking about that too, but the idea is not exactly that original. There's a Japanese film that was called like Samurai Commando 1579 or something like that. Where like it's the Japanese army that do like a test with teleportation, and they actually get sent back to feudal Japan. It's a shit film, but it's kind of got that same sort of tone to it. I think it came out like in the early 2000s or something.
Yeah,
But I would love to see that.
Yeah, no, done right, it would be incredible.
Yeah.
Because one of the coolest things that I was catching up on the conversation they're having,
Yeah.
and yeah, having guns and all that is like could be really big, but eventually ammunition runs out, the ability to manufacture it runs out, and people are saying actually one of the most important things would actually be the food supplies that the U.S. military would have, even potatoes alone, and rice and all that, introducing. Because when there was the Columbian exchange, how beneficial that was to the Europeans' diet. If you introduce the potato and all that stuff early on in the Roman period, how that would have completely revolutionized the way they consume food and food production amounts and all that stuff.
But we already have like real examples of how things would go out. Like just look at Hernan Cortez conquering the Aztecs, and he didn't have like machine guns. He had like those little pussy flintlock muskets, not those muskets, but he was able to do so much with only a few hundred people. So yeah, I think
that's crazy.
Yeah, I think American botanics could easily conquer the Roman Empire. I mean, like you just take over one people and have them do the fighting for you.
Yeah,
and
have them worship you.
yeah, have them worship you and have them feed you. Yeah, and they don't need to know that you're running out of ammunition. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
This might be the final question.
Yes.
And it's just a really simple question. Mateus Mitchell, I can't pronounce it, asks, Imperials or Stormcloaks? Nick?
Are we talking about Skyrim?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I fought for the Imperials because those Stormcloaks were proper racist and I couldn't stand for it. Yeah. What about you guys? Imperials or Stormcloaks?
Black Hand?
Yeah.
No, wait. You chose neither. You didn't play that storyline at all in Skyrim.
No, I actually never played Skyrim. I stopped at Oblivion. Fortunately, I really should have played Skyrim.
Okay.
Dude!
Well,
where's your childhood? Shit.
Well, no, Oblivion is the childhood.
Yeah, Oblivion was.
But I mean,
the shit.
the Dark Hand, the Brotherhood.
Yeah, that's right.
Of
that's
Assassins. You should play Skyrim because certain characters from Oblivion appear again, but they're as spirits, and it's actually really, really cool. Because you go through like a weird, like you have to go through. I forget, it's like a trial. Also in the Thieves Guild as well, the spirits come out. Mm-hmm. Like when you have to return like the key that opens all locks.
Yeah.
And doors. Yeah. It's really fun. You should play it again. And I heard that they're introducing multiplayer. I heard it. I don't know if it's 100% true. But my answer between Imperials and Stormcloaks, I was joining the Stormcloaks until I realized how mean they were to me because I was an elf. Because I had no idea. Like, I did the missions to become a Stormcloak, and then other Stormcloaks were just saying all this shit to me. I'm like...
That's like a black man joining the Ku Klux Klan. I'm sorry.
I know. But I didn't know, and I was like, fuck all of you guys. And then I joined the Imperials, but then I realized, okay, this war is completely pointless. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And so I did.
Well, good thing you changed your mind at the last minute. Yeah.
I did. It's more fun to stay out of their problems.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that's it for the night. I had a really good time. Thanks so much for coming on, Julian.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And I hope we can do more collaborative stuff in the future.
Yeah. I'd totally be up for that. All right. I think we're going to call it a night. Thank you Thank you everyone for listening in. You've been absolutely great, and yeah. All right, take it easy, guys.
Yes. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.